will request Honorable Sebunya to invite the Honorable Bueno of Ministry of Agriculture.
Minister's Office. I'm the head of the Prime Minister's Department. I present the PS today as the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, the State Minister for Agriculture, someone representing the Minister of State for Primary Health Care, our friend, the FAO country representative, government officials present, distinguished participants, the media. Thank you, Kem Allen. Thank you so much. And all distinguished participants. I take this opportunity to welcome you to this landmark dialogue at such a time as this, where we as a country like to take stock of the present situation. My duty today is to welcome you here and share some thoughts to ponder on in line with the theme for this year's World Food Day. I know this one is a precursor to the World Food Day, which is going to take place on Sunday, 16th October. One is how effective are we with our food system as a country? Because as many have too much or plenty, others are starving. Two, as to what steps are we taking respectively to ensure that no one is left behind? Just as the lady from prayed for us and said we should not leave anybody behind. Three, as to what else can we do to bring everyone else on board, mindful that we must work for the food. We have the capacity to do more as government together with the non-state actors. And I pray that we will harness it, and at the end of the day, we will all know more we'll know more regarding our next steps forward. I wish this dialogue fruitful deliberations, and I take this opportunity, therefore, to call our State Minister of Agriculture. I thank you so much.
The Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, the FAO country representative, my brothers and sisters from the Ministry of Agriculture and Industry and Fisheries, government officials present, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this very, very important televised policy dialogue, which is one of the key activities to mark the 2022 World Food Day. Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, allow me to, in a special way, thank you for accepting to join us this morning. And on behalf of the organizers, allow me to apologize that we communicated to you quite late, but you honored our invitation. We are so grateful for that. Thank you. Right Honorable. Right Honorable, Deputy Prime Minister, and all the participants, before I proceed, allow me to convey to you greetings from my senior minister, the Honorable Frank Mwebase, who should have been here at this moment, but is very busy somewhere out of the country on official business. I also convey greetings from my colleagues, the Honorable Bright Wanyama, who is in charge of the livestock subsector, and my sister colleague, Honorable Helen Adoa, in charge of the fisheries subsector, who are involved in activities outside Kampala. Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, this year's World Food Day is being marked amidst a number of global challenges, which you are aware of, including the COVID-19 pandemic that is still with us, and now the Ebola epidemic, as well as regional conflicts, extreme weather conditions perpetuated by climate change, rising inflation, fertilizer shortages, and the Russia-Ukraine war that has negatively affected various supply chains. These challenges are colliding to reverse decades of progress made in the fight against global hunger and poverty. The COVID-19 pandemic has particularly induced an economic recession that could add up to 100 million people or more to the 690 million already suffering from hunger globally. With us in the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, we are trying to put resilient measures so that we can mitigate some of these effects. And our philosophy is that we have to combine food security, animal feed security, nutrition security, together with income security. Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, today is not my day. I was given a small task of inviting you to address this dialogue. Allow me to take this singular honor, therefore, to invite you. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Honorable ministers around. I had a person introducing some other ministers. But that is all. Honorable ministers and the honorable MPs around. The country representative of FAO, country representative of WFP, World Food Program, development partners present, civil society organization is represented here, the permanent secretaries represented, heads of agencies, directors, the media, ladies and gentlemen, morning. Honorable, I want to thank you for inviting me. Like you said, I got this information very late, but I could not know where exactly to go because I got two messages at the same time when I was being invited at the same time. So it's good that I'm here today because I know food is something that touches everybody's life. Without food, nobody would be here. Colleagues, I take the honor to welcome you to this high-level policy dialogue on the World Food Day celebrations. Access to food is a basic right that mandates leaders and technocrats with an obligation of protecting the right of people to feed themselves in dignity with sufficient assured access and ensuring that the people adequately meet their dietary needs. This day gives us the platform to deliberate on the path of Uganda's food and animal food security, realigning our country's strategies to suit into the global food systems, organizing and building a robust system to undertake and refining our policies in relation to the food challenges that surround us, and ensuring that all actors and beneficiaries are part without leaving anyone behind. As part of the International World Food Day, we are to reflect on our food and nutrition security situation, consider reviewing our food policies, and make amendments, and the amendments were necessary under the spirit of leaving no one behind. I agree with the phrase that better production, better nutrition, and better environment, and a better life. In this regard, the dialogue is to provide space and time for us to check on the resiliency and sustainability of our agri-food systems to deliver better production, better nutrition, a better environment, and a better life. This day, therefore, calls for action across the sector players to ensure that our agri-food systems deliver enough affordable, nutritious, safe food for all with a better environment for a better life. The government of Uganda, through the parish development model, is aiming at delivering inclusive economic growth, starting from the lowest administrative unit. The parish development model is focusing on 7-pillar framework, and these ones include the production, storage, processing, and marketing, infrastructure and economic services, number 2. Number 3 is financial inclusion, social services, mindset change, parish-based management information system, and governance and administration. The new policy direction brought in by the parish development model framework is to move away from the system of the government-led free input mass distribution to a farmer-run and owned system of circles based at parish level with inbuilt credit to create a revolving fund. Under the parish development model framework, the Ministry of Work, before that, we were having the wealth creation, Operation Wealth Creation. That is, those are the programs that we've been having. We had the coffee, the program of giving out the coffee. We had the nuts program. Those were programs that we are giving people free. We're just distributing to the people. But now we want this program to be owned by our farmers themselves. So under the parish development model framework, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, working with all the other sectors and other players, will guide and on the enterprise selection. I think that one, instead of those people who have been helping us, now it is going to be upon the Ministry of Agriculture to guide our farmers on the enterprise selection. Then to ensuring adequate quantities and qualities of the seed, breedings and stocking materials, research and breeding. Then also ensuring sustainable high yields through control of pests, vectors, diseases, crops, animal diseases, and of course, diseases that get the crops. Precision agriculture, that is water harvesting, irrigation, infrastructure, and machinery. Then provision of farm power, that's the land opening, cultivation, machinery, and assorted post-harvest and small value addition equipment. Also ensuring that materials planted survive through ensuring adequate farmer education, called OKZUKSA, and extension. Sometimes our people are not aware that when we plant during a dry season, we can irrigate using our bottles. That one, the president has been talking about it. Let us get the bottles, you put at the plant, then slowly that plant will be getting some water. So I think this a type of education will be got from the Ministry of Agriculture through the extension workers. Maintaining and ensuring the standards of both inputs and produce from the farms, that is certification. Ensuring that there is proper post-harvest management to avoid pre- and post-harvest losses. Supporting primary processing through provision of skills and assorted equipment to address specific value chain needs. Supporting medium to large scale modern or extensive farmers, because these create effective demand, that is market, for the small scale and intensive farmers. And lastly, to ensure sustainable fisheries, both aquaculture and capture fisheries. This sector will use the available sectoral grants to support the patch development model implementation, which are both at the central government level and the district local governments. The agro-industrialization is aligned to the patch development model pillar 1 objectives. A new zoning strategy has been developed, which zoned the country into 14 zones. The zoning strategy will guide the enterprises selection in the different zones and in the parishes. Government is also to roll out ICT-enabled agriculture extension solutions, including the e-diary and other e-extension tools to improve public accountability and delivery of extension services. As we dialogue now, the status reveals that the percentage of food secure households has increased by 9.3% from 69% in the financial year 2018-2019 to 78.7% in the financial year 2020-2021, above the National Development Plan 3 target of 75% or 75.2%. However, despite the reported increase in the percentage of food secure households, most recently, a number of families in Karamoja sub-region and Lango were faced with starvation. And this, of course, I would say that among the key factors constraining the rights of access to food include, among others, the rise of the prices and availability of food and the intensity of the climate shocks. The government of the Republic of Uganda, under the wise leadership of His Excellency the President, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has approved the Agriculture Ministry's plan for responding to the looming food crisis in the country, giving the ministry a green light to submit supplementary budget. In addition, His Excellency the President, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has directed the Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, and the Minister of Finance, Matia Kasaija, to give the necessary support to the Agriculture Ministry's plan. Relevant government officials will implement the response plan, including providing agricultural machinery, seeds, fertilizers, and equipment for irrigation. This will be in addition to preparing all the necessary anti-pest measures to protect these crops. It is important to note that the government is desirous to commercialize and industrialize food production. Among others, this is also aimed at reducing subsistence farming. As I conclude, all this can be achieved through collective efforts by both government and non-government actors through synergies across all partners to avoid duplication of efforts. Lastly, I want to say that on behalf of the government of Uganda and on my own behalf, I extend special appreciation to the development partners here present and all the MDAs for the efforts put in to ensure Uganda is on the right path of growth and development. And with all those remarks, I declare the dialogue open for God and my country. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Rukia Nakadama, for that official opening and keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to invite as Right Honorable Third Deputy Prime Minister herself, the Honorable Major Fred Bwino, Margaret Mohanga, Minister of State for Health, or her representative. She had earlier come, but had to leave earlier and left a representative, an able one at that. Then we will also have on the panel His Excellency Dr. Antonio Querido of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. I am informed that the panel is fully constituted.
That you didn't want us to smile. What is your plot?
Farmers don't smile.
Okay. The government is in handling the climate change impacts and the emerging food insecurity in Uganda. First of all, allow me to remind you about the manifestations of climate change, and also to remind you that climate change is one of the global shocks. And in my own view, climate change is among those shocks that I call imported shocks. Much as even in our country, inside Uganda, there are activities that are contributing or that have contributed to climate change. But the perpetuators of climate change, the big-time perpetuators, are not within Uganda. They are outside Uganda. And that's why I call it one of the imported shocks. And as we talk about the impacts of climate change and how prepared we are as a country, we must not lose sight of the fact that mitigating and responding to the impact of climate change is a global effort. It must be a global effort. Much as we may respond as a country, we may not have sufficient impact if we don't tackle it as the whole world. Now, in the country, you are aware that the impacts of climate change have been manifesting mainly in the form of prolonged droughts, unpredictable weather patterns. Previously, we used to know when rain would come. We used to know when rain would stop. But we are not able to know when rain would come. We cannot predict it. Therefore, it's not easy to plan for agriculture activities, more so in a country where we are mainly depending on rain-fed agriculture. On top of the unpredictable weather and prolonged droughts, we have seen frequent and very severe incidences of floods. You remember what happened recently in the areas of Bugisu in Mbale, where a lot of property was lost, a lot of life was lost. Similar cases of floods have occurred in various parts of the country. They've occurred in Kasese, they've occurred in northern Uganda. A few weeks ago, I came to learn about floods around Pakwachi area, to the extent that the road was cut off after very, very short rain. We have also witnessed cases of landslides and effects of these instances of landslides. Apart from that, all these changes have come along with a high incidence of diseases of both crops and animals, as well as vectors that transmit these diseases. And when you combine all those impacts, the outcome has been the emergence of food, animal feed, and nutrition insecurity. You have heard of studies that have been conducted, most especially by the Office of the Prime Minister, and the reports that have come out indicating that there is emerging food insecurity in the country, with the northeastern part of the country being most affected, most especially Karamoja. In Karamoja, up to 30% of the population is facing acute food insecurity. Acute food insecurity.
and almost the remaining 70% of the population is facing varying degrees of food insecurity. We can say that in that part of the country, food security is a dream now. And this situation is almost similar in other parts of the eastern Uganda and the northern parts of the country. According to those reports, the central part of the country and the western part of the country are relatively food secure compared to the other areas. Now, coming back to the tasks that have been given, to talk about how prepared the government is in handling the impacts of the climate change that I've just described and the emerging food security. I will say that the Deputy Prime Minister has talked about how prepared we are. But I'll just bring in a few other areas. As government, we have taken a decision to face this challenge of climate change squarely. We have taken a decision of restoring the environment. Cabinet set up a committee chaired by the first Deputy Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga, and that cabinet subcommittee did tremendous work, prepared a report, which it presented to cabinet, and cabinet took a decision to restore the environment. And in a few weeks, His Excellency the President will come out to announce the measures. But for now, in summary, I can say that we are mainly looking at two areas that have disrupted our environment. Area number one are the steep hills and steep mountains, which we have made bare because of our own activities as human beings. And because of that situation, whenever it rains, water is no longer seeping into the ground and emerging later as wells. As you may know, that is how the water system works. When it rains, if there is vegetation, then water seeps into the soil, and on the hills and mountains, that water comes out clean and in a manner that is not destructive as wells and springs. And these springs feed into swamps, and swamps feed into rivers, and rivers feed into lakes. As long as that system is intact, then it means that the water will form a cycle. When it rains, it follows that movement as I've described, and later on it will evaporate and go back and form clouds, which clouds will form into rain, and the cycle continues. But we have disrupted that cycle. We have cut all the trees. We have removed all the vegetation because of our activity. And the government is saying that must stop. And the government is going to announce drastic measures in that direction. The second intervention is to tackle the destruction of wetlands in the form of growing paddy rice. The government has taken a firm decision to stop forthwith any kind of growing of rice in swamps and any other activity in wetlands. And we are going to enforce it. So that's the first line. That's the first defense. That's the first preparedness that the government has taken. And we have decided to take that direction because it's the sustainable way of dealing with it. It's the sustainable way of dealing with it. You cannot sustain giving food handouts to the hungry people. We cannot sustain it.
Honorable Minister, you have 2 minutes to wind up.
I'll summarize. The other level of preparedness is that shocks will always come. So we should go away from lamenting about it. We should face the direction of building resilience. And as government, we have built capacity, and we are continuing to build the capacity of creating that resilience so that we stop depending on rain for agriculture, so that we can even grow and rear animals, grow crops and rear animals off-season. So building resilience is another preparedness that we are building. Mechanization. Measures to increase productivity so that we can get more from the same area. 1 acre of maize, instead of getting only 700 kilograms, as it is the case now, government wants to put in place measures so that we can get 2,400 to 4,000, even 6,000 kilograms from 1 acre of maize. But beyond that, as you heard from the Deputy Prime Minister, and I don't want to repeat, government has taken a decision to support food production, because we know that under the PDM, we are encouraging the smallholder farmers mainly to deal in high-value agriculture activities. By so doing, we are inadvertently suppressing growing of food, because most of the food commodities are low value, and it's not profitable for you to produce such crops on a small scale. So what the government has decided to do in that direction is to support large-scale farmers to produce food. The Deputy Prime Minister has informed you that government has availed the funds to my ministry to support farmers, large-scale farmers, to produce food. We started with the government agencies. As we talk now, the prisons department, UPDF, NARO, NAGRIC are already producing food. Up to 100,000 acres of maize, soybean, sorghum. And next season, we are going to bring on board, we are going to roll it out to private farmers so that they also grow 100,000 acres of maize, beans, and soybean. With that, I hope I've stimulated. I know there will be a lot of debate from the audience. Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much. Let's give him a clap. Honorable Minister, you are going to have an opportunity to answer some questions, but it will be after.
Sincere gratitude to take part in today's dialogue as part of the commemoration of this year's World Food Day on 16th October 2022. As the theme for this year goes, leave no one behind, better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life, we need to take a multi-sectoral approach and engage all the key stakeholders if we are to address the challenge of food insecurity and malnutrition in this country. The question that was given to us was, with these current statistics on malnutrition, how best can relevant sectors work together to arrest the problem of malnutrition? I want to start by drawing your attention to the current nutrition situation in the country. We have undernutrition and overnutrition, and from the statistics, 29% of under 5 years children are stunted. That means that they are too short for their age. 5% are wasted. That means that they are too thin for their length or height. 11% of them are underweight. And we have 53% of these children being anemic, and 32% of women of reproductive age being anemic. Much as we talk about the undernutrition, the country is also facing a challenge of overweight and obesity, and this is a precursor for non-communicable diseases which are rising, which are on the increase in the country. And as we talk, we have 4% of the children under 5 being overweight, 24% of adult women being overweight, and many other statistics which I may not mention in the interest of time. These figures are an indication that there is really a very big battle for us to fight. I'm happy to note that through the Office of the Prime Minister, we developed and launched the Uganda Nutrition Action Plan, and this plan actually spells out interventions for each of the sectors. I want to say that interventions in this plan have been designed to address the immediate factors to malnutrition, the basic and the underlying causes of malnutrition. Our Ministry of Health is handling the nutrition-specific interventions, and these interventions that address the immediate causes of malnutrition. We have other sectors that focus on nutrition-sensitive interventions, and these, of course, the determinants include the food insecurity, the care practices, access to health services, and hygienic condition. And there are other sectors that are responsible for addressing some of these underlying causes. As far as malnutrition is concerned, I want to say that as Ministry of Health, our aim is to ensure that we reduce all forms of malnutrition, and we have key programs to address this malnutrition. We have a program that addresses the nutrition of mothers, infants, and young children. We also have programs that aim at preventing and controlling
micronutrient deficiencies. We have programs that also aim at managing malnutrition. We have programs on food safety, nutrition management of communicable and non-communicable diseases, nutrition in emergencies. You've been hearing the previous speakers talking about Karamoja. We are there intervening, the school feeding program, the social behavior change communication, nutrition logistics and supplies, nutrition surveillance and information system, because this is really very, very important. And we are working together with the other sectors on the multi-sectoral project on food and nutrition. As you can see, health has a limitation, and there are other duty bearers that should be responsible for food production, water security, socio-economic empowerment, the gender mainstreaming, land use management, to mention but a few. This calls for all government ministries and departments to work together in addressing this challenge. And what I want to bring to this meeting, the areas where we can work together, and one of them being joint planning and resource mobilization. This is really very key. The issue of coordination is very, very important. And I want to say that the Office of the Prime Minister should be calling the various sectors frequently to discuss issues of food security, issues of nutrition. Partnership and networking is very important. Information flow and sharing, and then the joint monitoring and evaluation for common results. I want to conclude by saying that teamwork divides the tasks and multiplies the success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Thanking the presence of the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister with us this morning, the State Minister in charge of Agriculture, the Undersecretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, my sister Assistant Commissioner for the Ministry of Health that is in charge of the DOC of Nutritious, the rep of the PS that is with OPM that is with us this morning, the civil society organization, the media fraternity. Thank you for being here with us as we prepare to celebrate the World Food Day on 16th. I read on behalf of FAO and the UN fraternity here in Uganda, I take this opportunity also to commend the leadership of MAIF for organizing this event and for, as we prepare to celebrate this World Food Day under the theme, Leaving No One Behind. The theme of this year is inclusiveness, leaving no one behind. We know that we started this year, 2022, with the ongoing pandemic. We have conflicts. We have the climate change that the minister has spoken, the climate that is continuing to warm, not stopping warming actually. And we also have seen the rise of the prices everywhere, and there is an international tension. So as we celebrate this World Food Day under the theme of inclusiveness, it is an opportunity for us to think of a better world, a world that is just, a world that provides sufficient food for everyone. We know that in a number of fronts we have had progress, a lot of progress. This world is a better world now. And we have seen that we're producing sufficient food to feed everyone in this planet. But nevertheless, even here in Uganda, we know pockets of food insecurity. And over our continent in Africa, we have 1/3 of the hungry people in the world. And before COVID, we know that the trend of ending hunger by 2030 was not good. We are not, the trend is not good in terms of achieving a world free of hunger by 2030, which means that we need to do more. We need to do more, and what we're proposing the countries at a global level is for a system transformation. We need to look at the agriculture sector as a system, all the way from production to the market, and propose a transformation. We are no longer happy with small changes. We need transformative solutions that will ensure that agriculture plays a critical role in the development of all nations, particularly here in Uganda, that you are so blessed with the natural resource. You have sufficient water. You have the manpower that can deliver on the promises of having leaving no one behind and feeding everyone with a healthy and nutritious food. I think our strategic focus for FAO is also insisting and is aligned with the Uganda vision and as well and what Uganda has been doing in terms of achieving a Ugandan free of hunger, which puts a lot of emphasis on the four betters: better production, better nutrition, better environment. The minister spoke about it as well, and better life. The minister also hinted that we want income security. We don't want to produce only to fill our stomach, but income security becomes an important for a better life. Because once we can feed ourselves, then we need to send our kids to school. We need to do other things in life. So a better life comes with the income security, and we want to do this also looking at our environment. We cannot continue to produce, destroying the natural base for the generations to come. So I think the challenge is upon us, and one of the key aspects that too often hinders this successful transformation is that when we look at the national, regional, even of a global level, in terms of strategies, in terms of the policies, in terms of the legislations, too often we are doing this very compartmentalized. So the challenge for this transformation is then how we look at the system, agri-food system, in a continuum. How we improve the production. How do we ensure that we don't have post-harvest loss? How we add value, and how we market in a way that the food that reaches our table is a healthy food, is a safe food, and is food that is affordable. One dimension of food security has to do with affordability. And for us, as we look at the increased prices, this is a matter of concern. And because affordability, we may have sufficient food, but if it's not affordable, which means that a number of family and household may not be able to put food on the table. So affordability become important as we continue to promote a food system that is inclusive for all of us. I don't know if I should address the question or now in terms of what Uganda should do in terms of this transformation. What I really want to say in terms of quick my thoughts, and also linking it to the research component, science, technology, and innovation, I think all that I'll be saying is Uganda is already doing. Probably I will not say anything new, but what I will emphasize that definitely the Ugandan vision is clear when it comes to agri-food system transformation. We see it also on the NDP 3 that propose an agro-industrialization, which provides a clear roadmap how Uganda can transform its agri-food systems. There is focus on the smallholders, moving them from subsystem to commercial. There is focus on value addition and the increased productivity. And also there is focus on the resilience of the household. So those are critical and important for the transformation that is needed here in Uganda. A few enablers of this transformation One has to do with the inputs that offer for agriculture, inputs in terms of its quality, inputs in terms of its quantity, input in terms of its affordability. You know, a bag of fertilizer in U.S. costs, a bag of 50 kilograms in U.S. costs about $25. In sub-Saharan Africa, the same 25 kilograms is over $50. So affordability of inputs is important. We need a good seed. We need fertilizer. And here, I think Uganda and the rest of Africa must think in the possibility of producing our own fertilizer. Having a dependency on the external production of fertilizer, we have seen the situation in Ukraine is affecting the food price because we've been so much dependent on their fertilizer. We have the raw material. We have the capacity also to produce fertilizer in our continent sufficient to our farmers. We need to look at agrochemicals. I think this is important for food safety and food quality. The number of agrochemicals in use, we have to ensure that Africa is free of agrochemicals that is banned elsewhere, because we know that there is a lot of agrochemicals in the market, even here in Uganda, that are chemicals that cannot be used in Europe, for instance. So when it comes to input, we need to definitely, for this transformation, see how the quality of and quantity and affordability of this input is of paramount importance. We need to invest also on farmers' know-how. Know-how in terms of agronomic practice, know-how in terms of managerial skills, looking at agriculture as a business, and as an agribusiness, we need to invest more on this know-how that will increase the productivity, will increase the labor as well productivity, and the land productivity is of paramount importance. I commend the Ministry of Agriculture for the push now on mechanization. For us to transform the agri-food system in our continent, in Uganda, mechanization is a must. We've been talking about this for so long, but still the level of mechanization in our continent is low, is abysmal low, is so low. The last statistic that I saw here in Uganda, you have about 9 tractors for 100 square kilometer. I think this number is improving now, because I've seen the Honorable Minister distributing a number of tractors. But we need to do more when it comes to mechanization. Mechanization not only about plowing the land, mechanization about planting, mechanization on harvest, mechanization that reduce a lot of redundant labor that we have in agriculture. Because if we look at the numbers, our farmers are not making money because a lot of people is in agriculture. If I give you a simple statistic, 100 of us in this room, if 70 of us is doing agriculture, to sell for only 30, so we cannot make money. So we look at the mechanization as a way of reducing the redundant labor in agriculture and push this labor to other part of the agri-food system. We want the youth of Uganda to work on agri-food system, but in a decent job. We want our agriculture to be efficient and with less people, but efficient to compete also with other markets. The trend is good, Honorable Minister. We saw that not too long ago, it was about 76. Now we have reduced to around 60. So the trend in terms of reducing the number of people doing agriculture, just the labor, is a good one. But at the same time, let's create opportunities in terms of value addition to ensure that we can absorb this labor in other chains of the value chains of a number of commodity. You are so blessed, and I'm sure this is possible. Another enabling factor is the irrigation. For a country that 22% of your land mass is covered by water. You can do agriculture all year long, and irrigation is a must. I'm talking about irrigation, but I will stress efficiency in irrigation. Because you have a lot of water, we should also invest in technologies that also save water for the humanity and also increase efficiency. Irrigation, I see a lot of effort of Minister of Agriculture pushing or large schemes, bringing water for production. This is a way to go. And we cannot forget on post-harvest reduction. We have seen that a number of commodities, the level of losses is quite high. I think some goes as high as 30 to 40%. Only in some grains that we are, close to 11 or 12. But we need to do more to reduce this loss and channel all of this in terms of value addition. Value addition is a must for the transformation that we want. Uganda have to stop exporting raw materials, add value, and create more jobs. Every time that we're exporting raw materials, we are exporting jobs and importing poverty. So for us to transform, definitely we need to add value. And for this to be possible, I should call for a huge investment in the agriculture sector. This is a sector that needs investment, serious investment, in terms of looking of ways for it to become sustainable. With the way it is, agriculture is already contributing to 24-25% of Uganda GDP, and is a major contributor to foreign exchange earner, just with this level of investment. Imagine if we increase this investment. Imagine if we add value in all our commodities, because in all 18 commodities of Uganda, all of them are marketable, and the market is out there for the benefit of the people of Uganda. Lastly, is just the word on the research, and because of, I think, research and technology is of paramount importance. Here, the call for the academia and also the researcher is to see how we think about research that is a research not for the sake of doing research, but is a research that is addressing a results-oriented research, is addressing a market-oriented solution, a research that brings society transformation as well. For that, money is required as well. So far, there is a lot of dependency on external financing of our research, not only here in Uganda, but throughout our continent. The challenge is then how we look at research as an important component for the agri-food system transformation, empower our research, linking the research also to the teaching, and to ensure that our graduates, they're not doing the research just to get a degree, but they are doing a research that is contributing for the society transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very good point there. Let's clap for him. Ladies and gentlemen, on the program, if you scan through it, we have about 20 minutes to do questions and comments, but I'm going to reduce it to less than 10, and I take about 3 questions, pertinent ones, please.
Mr. Bokenya, you are spot on. Land fragmentation is a big problem. And the government has come up with 2 approaches. Approach number 1 is to decampaign land fragmentation to the population and advise the population to abandon the traditional way of inheritance, where when the head of a family dies, then the land that belongs to that person is passed out to the children, most especially the male. As government, we have taken a decision to sensitize the population against that practice, in preference to another practice of instead either forming companies or forming circles or cooperatives in a family, so that you don't share the land, but you share what comes out of the land. You share the proceeds from the land. The second intervention is that we are advising Ugandans that if you are caught up in that dilemma and you have land like a quarter an acre, half an acre, then we are advising such category of people to engage in activities that are suitable for such size of land. And this is particularly like growing mushrooms, like poultry for eggs, like piggery for those that are not Muslims. And then, for them, they cannot grow food for those, for the chicken or for the pigs. They have to buy the feeds.
And as my brother Antonio has said, if you have just opened up land, even if you are neighboring somebody who has been cultivating for years, his soils have been depleted. He may need fertilizers you don't need. But this fashions, because a neighbor is putting fertilizer, I also put fertilizer. At the end of the day, you put your money in the soil and the yields don't increase. And then we start blaming the fertilizers. They are fake. Yes, it is possible. But it's like you, the human body. If you go to a hospital and you're suffering from malaria, then you get medicine for flu, then the malaria continues, then you blame the medicine. I think as leaders, we need to educate. On part of government, things through narrow, we are finalizing the soil mapping strategy and a soil map for the entire Uganda to guide farmers. What type of soils are in which region, what type of nutrients lack in that region, and therefore when you are buying fertilizers, you are guided. The other issue I want also to emphasize, I think has been adequately explained by my minister. The youth should really be encouraged to involve themselves in agriculture. But let us not limit agriculture to the production cycle. What happens in the garden? And actually what happens in the garden is a small percentage of the value of the agriculture. We can encourage them to participate in other value chain aspects. And actually, there is a lot of money in other aspects of the value chain other than what happens in the production. And as you see, the youth with this technology, one iPhone in the hand, they can't go to the garden. Because to go to the garden, you must be committed. But there are other aspects where the youth can still participate with their iPhones. Value addition, and then they will get money. Simple value addition, primary value addition, not even complicated. If you encourage them to turn milk into yogurt, they even get more money than the person who has a cow who's milking the milk. Plus other aspects of the beef, of the crops. So we need to map and promote those aspects that are compatible with the lifestyles of the youth. The youth want that aspect which, as somebody has been saying, they call it now sexy part of agriculture. Not soiling themselves with the cow dung and the soils in the garden. But they are other areas where the youth can be employed. So by mechanization, you're actually creating jobs because now you're having volumes and the youth will have volumes to which they can add value. Thank you very much.